So 3 years ago, I taught myself how to use Clo3D. And since the very beginning of learning how to use the software, I was always really interested in the pattern drafting side of things. And although it can create really beautiful visuals, and I've spent a lot of time and energy devoted to creating those visuals, I always was really interested in the capability of the program to actually test garments, which you would then create physically. So today I'm sharing a little personal project that I've been working on. I had this old Underwire sports bra. So I wore it for years and I had like 5 of them, but unfortunately they were discontinued. This one doesn't fit me anymore and the wire's broken on it. It broke a long time ago, but I've always held on to it with the aspiration of eventually one day recreating it. So in this video, I'm going to share with you my first attempt at replacing this bra. I'll show you how I used Clo to help me through the process, what went well, and what I learned. So let's get into it. So I originally drafted this bra in Clo. I used my body scan avatar and then turned her into a DAZ3D avatar. I kind of just put the avatars in the same plane, and I tried to make the DAZ3D match the Clo3D, match the body scan as closely as possible. And then I took that DAZ3D avatar and I brought it into Clo. And the reason why I don't use the body scan avatar in Clo is because she doesn't have a smooth surface. She's kind of hard to fit on. And I haven't spent enough time really trying to smooth out that avatar. So I'm just going for using a DAZ3D avatar here. So I made this block pattern in Clo, and then I spent an afternoon just playing around with the design lines, coming up with something that I thought was interesting. So before I could move on, I got distracted by the idea of incorporating a projector into my studio because I'm obsessed with efficiency. And it's kind of mind blowing that you can take your pattern straight out of Clo, already have a marker layout with the most efficient cutting layout for the width of fabric that you have, and then mirror that onto the projector and then just project the pattern right down onto the fabric. So I had to go down that rabbit hole. It took me a whole afternoon to get this projector set up and calibrated and usable, but this huge, massive addition to my sewing and garment construction practice. So I love it. So finally, with the projector set up, I cut out the pattern, sew it up and try it on, and it's way too small. It's like 3 cup sizes too small. So the big mistake that I made here is that I didn't start with a pattern that I knew already fit me and try to modify it. I was trying to draft from scratch based on my body scan avatar, which there's a few problems around that. First of all, it's a few years old, so my body probably isn't the exact same shape as that avatar anymore, but I still think the garment should have been closer. The fit should have been closer than what I got out of Clo. So I think another part of the problem was just the scale of the avatar that I used. I haven't fully figured out what the problem is, but I know the problems with the avatar. And I know this because I modified the cup based on what I saw in the physical fitting. So you can see here, I increased the volume. I started with the center of the cup and I kind of evenly increased the volume around, but I deferred to increasing the volume slightly more towards the front. So this dotted line was the original pattern, and the white is the modifications that I made to the original pattern. On the bottom cup pieces, again, I wanted a little bit more volume towards the front. So you can see that there's a little bit more volume added here. And you can see on the simulation as well that there's more volume added towards the front. And then I modified the upper cup here as well. So I increased the volume along the cup seam, which would be this seam right here. So all along this seam, I increased the volume, but I didn't want to increase the volume of the neckline too much because I wanted to maintain the tension along the neckline. And so you can see from the simulation that I have added a lot of volume to this garment. So it no longer fits the avatar. So this kind of makes sense because in the first version of the pattern, the garment fit the avatar, but it was way too small on me, on me physical Trudy. And so I've modified this pattern, and now it's way too big on the avatar, as I would expect. So I know for sure that there's a problem with the avatar, and I haven't fully figured out why the problem is. I probably should have taken more care to measure my physical body against the measurements of the avatar, which is crazy. I know that I didn't do that in the first place, but I'll take that as a lesson for next time. So next, I sent it to my projector again, cut it out, sewed it up, and tried it on. And the next version was almost perfect. I made this version with sheer cup lining, but all of the elastics and the back band were the same materials as the original design and the final design. But I had to use sheer cup lining because I only had a limited amount of this micro dualplex fabric that I was using, that I wanted to make the final garment with. Hi, Editing Trudy popping in here. I don't want to show this garment because it is made out of sheer cup lining, which means it's pretty exposing, and I want to respect viewer sensitivities. And that being said, I do think that being able to see how a garment fits is incredibly important in terms of evaluating how the pattern is actually functioning. And so I would love to create a more private space, a group where we can share this type of information, but in a more private setting. Maybe it's on Zoom calls, or I really like videos so that we can interact with each other. So if you have any ideas, let me know in the comments below, or send me a DM, and let's figure out a way that we can make this happen so that we can share this knowledge and make bra fitting and bra making more accessible. So I made another version in sheer cup lining, and it was so close to being perfect. The only problem was that the neckline was still cutting into my breast tissue a little bit. So all I had to do was increase the neckline by, I think it was like 2 centimeters or 1.5 centimeters. So with that change, I modified the pattern one more time, exported it back to the projector, back to cutting it out, and we have the final version, which I was super happy with. I made this game time decision to make the upper cup out of a yellow tulle that I had in my studio, which I wish in hindsight that it was a little bit of a paler yellow. I think it would have matched the flowers a little bit better, but I really love the way it highlights that shape of the upper cup. And I really want to be using materials that I have in my sewing room and taking chances with creative design, because I've had these two materials next to each other for a long time, and it's really cool to see them executed together. Even if I don't necessarily love the execution, I love the fact that I had this idea for a long time and I was finally able to test it out, and that just goes into my creative bucket. So hopefully, as I keep moving forward with my creative journey, I can get a better sense of design as I grow in this journey. So now I had this final garment and a pattern that I'm really happy with the fit of. I went back into Clo and I modified the avatar to fit the garment. And this avatar is slightly larger than the circumference of my bust. I have a 40-inch circumference of my full bust, and she's like 40.5, so she's a half an inch bigger. And so my theory on this is that for a full bust avatar, you need a slightly larger, a slightly fuller cup to offset gravity, basically, because there's no gravity pushing against the cup, so it just doesn't fill it out as much. This is my working theory anyways. My objective now is to continue deconstructing this bra. I do want to give it some more internal support. The original bra had this collar all along the inside. And there's another design that I've been studying that has a collar on the upper cup as well. So I want to incorporate those ideas into the next version of this design. But for now, I'll show you some footage of me testing out this garment and the type of workout that I would do. This is at home. I go to the CrossFit gym several days a week, so usually that's where I'm doing my workouts. But for this video, I thought I would just show you some of the types of exercises that I would do wearing this bra. So pull-ups, push-ups, leg raises, those kinds of things. And I call it a sports bra, but it's not like a really restrictive sports bra meant only for high intensity activity. It's also meant to carry me through my day. So I want to do my workout, and then maybe I have to go to the grocery store afterwards, or maybe pick up my kid from something. And I want to be comfortable as I go through all of those activities and not have to change every single time. I do shower after a workout if it's a hard workout, but sometimes, a lot of the time, actually, it's just strength training and maintenance type of movement. And so I don't need something that's super restrictive or compressive. And I do occasionally, like if I'm going for a run or if I'm doing a lot of skipping or something, then I'll usually wear 2 sports bras. So I'll usually wear another sports bra, compressive sports bra on top of this one. But this I call it a sports bra, but it's also meant to carry me through the rest of my activities in the day. So I really like bundling up my creative energy with a functional necessity that I have in my life, which is what inspires this garment for me. My goal for this year, by the time I turn 45 in December, is to do 10 pull-ups, a 60-second handstand, and 25 push-ups. So we'll see. So that's the idea. This garment motivates me to keep working out. Working out motivates me to make garments like this. So I hope you enjoyed the video today. I hope it was useful. If you want to learn about Clo3D, you can go to wayfinder3d.com and check out my course, Clo3D Foundations for Intimate Apparel, where you will learn all the basics that you need to know about creating intimates in Clo. Thanks for being here, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.